My favorite book. I was having a couple of conversations lately, just talking to some of my friends about their favorite books, what they like to read, what they like to study. I'm actually in a book right now called Evidences of Christianity. It's a huge book. It's full of information. It's kind of hard to get through because it's not the kind of book you can just read through. You actually have to pay attention. You have to stop and you have to study a little bit. But that's not my favorite book. Like I said, I was talking to some people and they started talking about their favorite books, and I was sitting there and I was going, man, what's my favorite book? You know, I wanted to put in my input. I wanted to, you know, be part of the conversation. I started thinking about it and I realized I don't have a favorite book. And their books weren't biblical. They were just talking about regular. Some of them were fiction, some of them were nonfiction. You know, and they were having fun with it. And I got home today and I started thinking, and I was sitting at my desk and I was just thinking, you know, what's my favorite book? Should I have a favorite book? Is it important? I realized that in a Christian's life, the Bible should be the most important book to us, because it's not the kind of book you just read through and then you're done with that book. It's a book we always go back to. It's a book we always read. It's a book that we live our lives accordingly to. And I started thinking, and I realized that I've always loved the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I've always loved those because they give the life of Christ, as well as the death and the resurrection. And those were always really important. Those are beautiful books. But I started thinking, aside from those, aside from Christ, in the Bible, what would be a good book for me to claim as my favorite, one that I really love to read? And I wanted to share that with you today. And mine is 2 Samuel. And 2 Samuel is, the author is not really clear. They're not so sure. They think maybe either the prophet Samuel or Nathan's son Zabud, and the prophets Nathan and Gad, perhaps. But in the book of 2 Samuel, we learn that David was a man after God's own heart. And I started thinking about that, and I was like, wow, a man after God's own heart, what does that mean? And I was like, that's beautiful, you know, a man after God's own heart. And you can just repeat that over and over in your head, and it's just, each time it just gets better and better, because you think of a man who wants to live his life according to God's word, the best that he can. And the best thing about David was he was a regular guy. You know, he made mistakes. You know, you remember the story about Bathsheba. You remember the things that he'd done wrong, how he went wrong, or how his son went wrong and kind of went AWOL there, or I guess kind of went mutiny on him, I guess. But altogether, the entire story of David throughout his life, as depicted in 2 Samuel, you know, it gives that 40-year span from the beginning of his reign almost to his death there. And it's, to me, it just, Samuel is just the book of 2 Samuel. I'm sorry, it's just talking about David. It's just after a man after God's own heart. I'll never forget that when I read that, a man after God's own heart. And that's my favorite book. It's found in the Bible, obviously. If you have a favorite book, let me know. Send me a message. Let me check it out. Tell me why. I like to hear it. But if you've seen this, especially if 2 Samuel is one of your favorite books, let me know. I'd like to see how many 2 Samuel favorites we have out there. I'd appreciate that too. Thanks for watching. God bless.